the second they show her face, like the premise of the movie shatters. Like she would be cleaning up as a barista in Silver Lake. Like there's just no world. There's no world where she's not getting people writing their phone numbers on their receipts. But we're supposed
literally
to believe
cleaning up.
Yeah.
Figuratively.
Welcome to 1999, the podcast. I am John Brooks.
I'm Jen Tisdale. Pre-makeover. Hideous still and wearing glasses.
Work into art. Yeah, I know. Look at you.
Disgusting.
Jen, have you thought about contacts? Have you ever thought about contacts?
Is it because my eyes are so beautiful?
So beautiful. Yeah. Has anybody ever been like, your eyes are fucking hideous? Has anybody ever
thought about glasses? Have you considered glasses?
Have you thought
I'd
about
love to cover those up?
Yeah. I forgot to tell you something I've been meaning to tell you for a while, because I know you also liked this movie. A couple weeks ago, I finally fucking saw The Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Ooh.
So good.
Yes. Yes. Okay. And more than this one we're about to watch. Lee, if you're listening.
I still love it.
Lee is the screenwriter. Lee, I love you. I love your words. But we're going to say some things.
We are.
I love you.
We're going to say some things. Last Voyage of the Demeter, fuck you all for not seeing it, because it's not going to get the sequel that it needs.
And John will fuck you all for not seeing it.
Every one of you.
He set aside a huge chunk of his 2024 calendar. Yeah.
I have undying vengeance, like that of Dracula. Corey Hawkins, man. Okay, if you're not going to make a sequel to that movie, put Corey Hawkins in your goddamn movie, because that guy...
They left it wide open. They've
just rules.
They've got to. I don't think it did well enough. You know how that goes.
It didn't. But I know. That's what I mean.
I sat in a comfy theater in a recliner chair begging to fall asleep in it. I did not. And I took that voyage with an open heart, blood pumping through my veins. I loved it. I loved every second of it.
It's a great monster movie. And yep. And I'm going to say right now, as of today, Last Voyage of the Demeter, little greater than sign, The Crow, 2024.
Oh God, yeah. That's not even a competition. Now, but you have all the source material to draw from. I'm just looking at this with my 1994 crow eyes and in abject horror.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's some things about it.
No, I watched. I saw the trailer and I'm like, this is not not good.
I'm just so upset.
Watch it be amazing. I mean, who knows? But like the trailer, oof, man.
I'm still gonna go.
It has no. Yeah, I guess. We shall see. Anyway, moving back to the Wayback Machine once again. Today we look at one of 1999's biggest surprise hits, the 38th highest grossing movie, which grossed $103 million on a budget of just $10 million.
That's really good.
That's not quite Blair Witch profit, but it's pretty good.
That's hard to beat.
Opening at number 1 on January the 29th, boosted by being nicely timed around Valentine's Day and by coming out in one of the least competitive box office periods of the year, directed by Robert Iscove and written by friend of the pod, R. Lee Fleming Jr.
Hi, Lee.
With a lovely score by the Police drummer Stuart Copeland, a fact I just discovered today. Weird thing. And featuring a profoundly deep cast of people, including... Here we go. Freddie Prinze Jr., Rachael Leigh Cook, Freddie Prinze Jr.'s work wife, Matthew Lillard, Paul Walker, Dule Hill, who's so good in this, Jodie Lynn O'Keefe, Anna Paquin, Kieran Culkin, Emmy winner, Eldon Henson, Usher, Gabrielle Union in her film debut, though not her only teen rom-com of the year, Lil' Kim, Clea Duvall, Tamara Mello, Alexis Arquette, the late Alexis Arquette.
Yes.
American Pie's Shermanator, Chris Owen.
That's correct. That's the way.
And we cannot forget Kevin motherfucking Pollak, who just rules. Today, we are talking about the gender-swapped Can't Buy Me Love, or the gender-re-swapped Pygmalion My Fair Lady. She's All That. So, Jen, what's She's All That all about?
She's All That, as you just mentioned, is a modern day version of Pygmalion or My Fair Lady, starring Freddie Prinze Jr. as big man on campus, Zach, whose best friends absolutely fucking hate him. Paul Walker is his best friend. Once Freddie Prinze Jr. is dumped by the big gal on campus, it turns into a bet. Unclear why. I don't know why. From Paul Walker, his mortal enemy / best friend, who says, I bet you can't turn any dumpy woman / just a lady wearing glasses into prom queen in 6 weeks. Freddie Prinze Jr. is not feeling great right now. He was left for an off-brand puck from the real world. He takes Matthew Walker's bet, and they focus on a still stunning Rachael Leigh Cook, who, as far as I can tell, is unattractive because she falls down a lot. I get it. It's hard to walk.
And she has like poofy hair.
She's got kind of poofy hair. And, you know, I don't even know if I have to say the rest because, you know, he does the thing. It doesn't actually work, but she gets quite close. And of course, in the process, they fall in love.
Oh, plot twist.
And, you know, there's also 2 great cameos by Sarah Michelle Gellar and Milo Ventimiglia, who I recognize from the back of his fucking head.
Yeah, it's hard to miss. Critics were pretty well split on She's All That, which, to be fair, should be considered in light of the fact that She's All That was actually very early in the new wave of teen high school comedy features that would go on to include American Pie, 10 Things I Hate About You, and countless imitators and sequels in the years to come. It has a rating of 41 on Rotten Tomatoes and a more respectable 51 on Metacritic. And as we mentioned on this podcast before, it was the final film reviewed in print by Gene Siskel. His Metacritic score comes in at 75, and he called it, quote, the sunniest high school picture since Clueless, although it lacks that film's topical sense of humor. Rachael Leigh Cook as Lainey, the plain Jane object of the makeover, is forced to demonstrate the biggest emotional range as a character, and she is equal to the assignment. I look forward to seeing her in her next picture. Which
oh God, that's such a sad sentence.
Yeah, that really gets me. His aisle mate, Roger Ebert, also gave the film a passingly positive thumbs up review, concluding, quote, watching the movie, I was grateful to the director, Robert Iscove, and the writer, Fleming Jr., for taking this weary material and doing what they could with it. There's so little wit in the movies today. Too many characters speak in big, clunky, declarative sentences that serve only to push the plot ahead of them, like people trying to shove their cars out of the snow. She's All That is not a great movie, but it has its moments. Its biggest booster, though, was the Los Angeles Times' Kevin Thomas, whose Metacritic score comes in at a 90, and who wrote, quote, a teen comedy that actually puts a priority on intelligence and values and spans generations in its appeal, emerging as a special delight for anyone for whom high school was something less than nirvana. And Lisa Allspector of the Chicago Reader wrote, quote, as an undiscovered beauty who frequents open stage night at the local performance art club, that's funny, her rack hidden under paint-spattered overalls, her chiseled face...
I thought about her breasts a lot with respect. But I did.
Respectfully. Her chiseled face obscured by glasses, Rachael Leigh Cook is charming and sincere, and ultimately so is Prince, whose character's realization that he's not as shallow as he's thought is convincing. Most of the middling reviews cite the movie's clunky pacing, inconsistent tone, and all too occasional inventiveness in its cinematography, though the climactic dance scene and opening long take gets a lot of praise.
The dance scene did?
Yeah. I think it's pretty well shot. And
I'm not talking about how well it was shot. I'm talking about its existence.
The actual dancing. The Rockefeller skank. But the worst review comes from someone whose reviews we have featured here before and usually has a memorable take, Mark Zavlov of the Austin Chronicle, who wrote, quote, as the portrait of high school suffering, Cook is a diamond in the rough. If anything, she's too cute to be chosen for this rogue scheme and not nearly enough of the closeted artiste the story seems to want her to be. The film treats Prinze Jr. with equal diffidence, shading the character of Zach with just enough hues of grays that he can ride roughshod over the film's final 30 minutes. Equally cliched when it comes to either of the sexes, She's All That runs the gamut from confused to confusing, with plot schematics tangled up in third-act jumbles that creep up out of nowhere. One such bizarre sidetrack, a last-minute threat of impending date rape, sets the stage for a sequence that either was never intended to be shown or was hastily pulled after the fact. No explanation is given except of a tired denouement by Kevin Pollak as Cook's well-meaning father, shoddily constructed out of bits and pieces of previous genre triumphs. She's All That is as dull and droning as the fluorescent lighting in your old study hall. And with that, we're going to talk about She's All That. And we welcome our guest today, comedy writer, movie fan, Twitter superstar, Chase Mitchell.
Hey, guys.
Hi, Chase.
First of all, let's talk a little bit about your credentials. So you used to work for my old karaoke pal, Jimmy Fallon.
Does that guy like to sing?
He does. He does some karaoke.
No, he actually, fun fact, he actually hates it. You have to really push him out there on stage.
Oh, yeah.
The way that I would love for that to be true, that we discover later in life that this whole time Jimmy Fallon hated singing. Well, we love
just really resented everybody. Yeah.
Get the fucking guitar out of my hand. But Jimmy. So you wrote for Mr. Fallon.
Yeah. Yes. I had 2 separate times. Wrote for him from like 2013 to like 2017, including like the start of the Tonight Show, which is now 10 years ago somehow. And then again during the pandemic, I worked remotely actually from out here in LA. I worked there again for about another 2 years. So yeah.
And that's when he was doing all of his like weird recorder music videos and stuff with is that what was happening?
That was maybe like when I first came back at like the beginning of 2021 and then kind of just stayed through until when everybody was back in the office. I actually was like the lone holdout. Everybody was back in person in New York and I was just the one face on the screen, like Big Brother in the meeting. Just kind of looming over everyone on the flat screen.
That's awesome.
Chase, can I ask you something about late night writing? What is the best part about it? And what is the absolute soul crushing worst part about it? It can be brief.
They're kind of flip sides of the same thing. I mean, the great thing is, so like most of my writing has either been in late night or in adult animation, and those could not be more different. Like the thing that's great about late night is, especially when I was back there remotely during the pandemic, is I would wake up, I'd be on my couch and I'm on New York time, even though I'm in LA. So this is like 5:30 in the morning, but I'm coming up with ideas that I'm pitching in a Zoom meeting. And then I can stay seated in the same position on my same couch all day. And if I really wanted to, I could all the way up until 8:30 p.m. out here when the show comes on, and hear stuff that I wrote on my computer, on my couch, on the same couch on TV. So that's pretty cool.
That's very exciting.
A really quick turnaround. My parents love that because I could text them during the day and be like, okay, if you watch tonight, I did this bit and this bit and this bit.
That's
Whereas
really
like
cute.
Animation, it's like, animation, you write something and then you don't see it for 2 years.
2 years. Yeah.
People have to draw it. Yeah. So that's really cool. And then the flip side of that is that it never stops. As Smash Mouth once said, the days keep coming and they don't stop coming.
Don't stop
just
coming.
Like R.I.P. Just really quick, R.I.P. to a real one.
You hit the door. You hit the door running or whatever. Brain gets smart, but your head gets dumb.
But yeah, it is. It's a little relentless. Thankfully, there is every 5 or 6 weeks you actually get like a week hiatus, and that's pretty nice. But yeah, you do run the risk of burnout. The schedule is, we were working 12-hour days a lot of times, and it's tough. It's tough to turn around a show in every 24 hours. But it's also really fun. I mean, of
course. It's also, I feel like I briefly did stand up, hold for applause. Okay. And I don't think I'd sat down very often to write jokes with intention. They just would come and then you'd jot it down. But obviously as you go along, it becomes easier, but to have to sit down and crank out a joke on command feels insane to me. So it's very impressive that you did that for 12 hours a day and a week off.
Thanks. Yeah. You kind of learn to get used to it. I think your brain kind of just becomes a joke machine, and you just
Mm.
it's almost
turn it off.
kind of. You're right, exactly. Yeah, when you get those hiatuses that I was talking about, you are seeing news stories, and you're like, I want to stop thinking.
You start to itchy. You get a little itchy. Yeah.
Thinking of puns. Yeah. Wow.
Well, Chase, I wish you were around to punch up this movie. I'm just kidding.
Well, listen, we know that M. Night Shyamalan did.
I know he did. That's hence the big
I forgot
twist
about
ending.
that. Wow, that's right.
Yeah, well, I talked to the writer a few episodes back, in one of our episodes, and we brought up the M. Night Shyamalan controversy that there's a rumor that M. Night Shyamalan like secretly wrote the movie, and that is in fact not true. He did do a treatment on it. He did come up with the was I a fucking bet, or am I a fucking bet? That is his line.
That's his line.
Yeah, okay, and I think he also added the line where Usher was like, "I taught you all these dance moves. That's how you know this." And I think he also that was awesome.
I definitely want to get to that later, because that's a whole Usher's whole existence in this movie is very.
He's just the radio DJ. I don't think he's in school. I don't think he's taking. He's in a class. It's very Beverly Hills 90210 David Silver.
Yeah, I love
Chase. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, that was direct.
I'm 39.
Well, I was just trying to gauge if he watched Beverly Hills 90210.
I know what you're supposed to do is say how old were you in 1999, and then they don't have to say how old they were if they're embarrassed by their age. So you were. Let me do the math then. So you were 20. So you were 14.
He was 14.
Okay.
I did it. Yeah, it lined up actually with the grades that I was in, which was kind of handy for remembering. So 1999, I was in 9th grade. That's how I remember it.
Did you see this movie when it came out? I don't think you were its target audience, but
I wasn't. I mean, I did see a lot of teen movies. I don't recall seeing this one in the theater. I definitely caught it on video. It was probably a Blockbuster rental. Yeah. Once it came out there, I definitely saw it back then, but I don't. It's funny, for a lot of movies, I do have I can conjure a memory of sitting in a theater if I know that I did, but for this one, I don't think I did. And yeah, when I saw it, there's a lot in here that's for one of the prototypical 90s teen movies, or 90s early 2000s teen movies. There is some directorial flair in this. I heard you kind of mentioning the opening long shot and stuff, but there's some interesting choices in here, and it's weird that there even are choices, because in a lot of these movies there's not.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, it's definitely true. Jen, when did you first see this movie? Did you go to the old theater?
As you know, I have a terrible memory. I can't.
I know you do.
I don't know what I did 10 minutes ago, but remember in 1999 I was living in LA, and I owned nothing, just some IKEA furniture, undoubtedly. So I wasn't doing a lot of movie going for. Yeah. I was the first Wayne's World. Chase, I'll just catch you up really quick.
Wayne's World 1, you're right. Sorry. Yeah.
And for 6 months, I just had one VHS tape, and it was of Wayne's World, and I had the TV VCR combo, and I challenged myself to watch it every day to see when I would get sick of it, and I did it for 6 months in a row. I watched Wayne's World every single day until the tape broke. So my experience of 1999 and 2000 is primarily Wayne's World. Regrettably, I didn't have a lot of money, so if I could just give you a longer answer.
There's definitely worse VHS tapes that you could have been stuck with.
Listen, quiz me at any single line. I'm available, but I didn't see this movie, and I feel like this definitely feels like if this is on, I'm probably going to watch it. Back when people were still doing that, I bet TNT or TBS or somebody like that got their claws into it, and that and Shawshank Redemption just on a loop on TNT or TBS or whatever, and it's one of those things where you're and no matter where you are, I'm I'll just watch it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every time.
Yep. There's no bad parts. So in Shawshank, I mean,
I have I'm very excited about the fun facts I found out about this motion picture.
There are some fun facts
about Kevin Pollak and why he decided to do this film, which I because he is, for me, the bright shining star.
Always.
Oh, there's some really surprisingly, and I actually just rewatched today to get ready, but there's some surprisingly really good Kevin Pollak sequences.
He's just so subtle, and I'm just trying not to see The Usual Suspects, but it is really all I can see. I know he's done a lot, but I'm just waiting for him to
we'll get to the Jeopardy scene later, but man, that gets me every time. It is so fucking funny.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
He borrowed that from another movie he had done,
from Truth and Consequences in New
Mexico.
Yeah.
So you can plagiarize yourself. I do it all the time. So yeah, should we start just vaguely at the top? My brain tends to bounce around, which I feel is frustrating for people, and I'm almost tempted for some reason.
We open on Sunnydale High School.
Yes, we do. Buffy, it's Buffy land, honey, and she is in that cafeteria.
She never left for the summer. Yeah,
just stayed there, and they went, put her in.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're at Buffy High.
Very funny. Is that what if that's actually Buffy and this is set in the Buffy verse and like wouldn't that be great? Anyways, go ahead, Chase. Sorry.
I was just gonna say I did want to give a quick shout out to the font used for the opening credits because it was pretty clear that someone just got Adobe Creative Suite for Christmas and used it on these like shiny bubble letters.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's like collage letters, though, is the idea, right? And that's also like on the. It's on the poster. It has to be
because she's a collage artist, so they have to.
That's what I thought.
Which John and I yelled about Chase in a previous mini episode about how collage is not art, and I wish we'd stop. I don't know why we're out here acting like it is when we see Rachael Leigh Cook repurposing whatever that thing is in the middle. I think it's a pool thing from her father.
It is because it's her father. Yes, it's a pool filter from her father. That's which I thought was pretty
but
funny.
Like, so actually, So I guess the collage letters are an homage to. She is an artiste.
She's an artiste. That's how you know. I had the same thought though, like Chase. I was just like, well, they're really going all in on this little collage font that they've discovered for these opening credits. But it's also like the poster, like the "She's All That" is the wording on the poster is also that like pastiche.
I never put that together.
Yeah, we did it. We did it here today together. There's going to be a lot of ideas birthed.
So we open on Sunnydale High School, and it's also the 90210 school, right? They use that school a lot.
And that is, I assume, the radio station where David Silver was also doing his morning show. Sorry, Brian Austin Green, or Bag to his friends.
Yep.
I assume. Yep. So, yeah.
You were asking if I was a 90210 person. I was. This is slightly generational. I was a big time OC person, so that was slightly later.
Millennial like 90210.
02 to 07, yeah.
Yeah,
that was my 90210.
The OC was a objectively better show than 90210 was. Like the OC was actually like well written and acted and clever, whereas 90210 was.
I'm sorry, I'm just going to interject for a minute. Did the OC have lines like this from Luke Perry? "May the bridges I burn light my way." What?
Yeah. No, it did not. And this is
Chase, have you ever heard such poetry from a teen?
My point.
In high school?
No, it had lines more like "Welcome to the OC, bitch," which
Yeah, see, that's
sort of more to the point. Yeah.
That sounds like something Freddy Krueger would scream in a boiler room.
Yes.
So we're at Sunnydale High / West Beverly High.
For some reason, everything's done in this one long take, which is actually very impressive. And I thought that was kind of cool to think of these like young actors sort of like making sure they hit their marks and
doing like a Snake Eyes. Isn't that big long like tracking shot with the Nicolas Cage movie Snake Eyes? There are better examples.
Yeah. What's the one I'm thinking of? The Robert Altman, the player, right? There's like a huge, right? And the good fellas.
All of these influences are felt in this motion picture for sure.
No, but I do think that sort of established to me that like, oh, they're kind of trying in this movie. Like this isn't just a put the camera wherever and like do teen things. There's a sort of, there's an art to this that they're going for here. And I thought it was very like the way that opening shot sort of established all of these characters and their relationships and sort of like the whole vibe of the school and just like what kind of dynamic we're dealing with, which is a very sort of typical
clicky, super clicky.
Yeah, and like caricatures and of the sort of high school cliques happening. I thought it was really effective because I got who like Dule Hill was and who like Paul Walker was like right away. And for
Paul
for a
Walker
movie,
is the Gabriel Carteris, which is Andrea Zucker of this movie, in that she was 29 playing a 16-year-old, and I don't know how old Paul Walker was, but he was not anywhere close. And I had a hell of a lot of trouble believing that Paul Walker was less cool or popular than Freddie Prinze Jr. just aesthetically. Now, this is just a personal choice, but he's like a beautiful man.
But they made him a little doughy in this
horny
movie, which I thought was interesting.
He is a little, yeah. He's definitely. It's more of like it's baby Paul Walker. He's a little more baby face, but he does look like he looks like he was immaculately conceived by the state of California. Like he's just
in the 90s,
the tan surfer guy.
Like Disney magic to surfboard to life. It was cursed to live as Paul Walker forever.
There's so many spin-offs of this movie we could make. Look at this. We've already got
this. He had already done Pleasantville. By the way, he had already done Pleasantville. So I think he was the one who was coming in hot with the most quote unquote credits. But if I remember him physically in Pleasantville, and I do, he was a little slimmer, still playing just but he was a kind of like something was happening. I don't know what he was working out for, but it was certainly something.
Well, I think like Paul Walker, I always found to be a pretty boring actor for the most part. He's really good at this. Like, he's really good at being an asshole. Like he played a great asshole, and he is actually very funny in this movie. Like this is a role and a character that could be like pretty menacing in a lot of contexts.
Yeah,
but he never is because he's the date rape thing. But he's never like menacing as a character. He's just sort of, I don't know. He plays it really well down this like very narrow kind of line that he's walking here.
Well,
so
I can tell you that
there you go.
In an interview with News
Entertainment Television.
That's right. Rachael Leigh Cook said that she was intimidated by Paul Walker.
That's weird.
She said he seemed like a surfer who somebody picked off the beach and dragged onto a movie set who happened to be good at acting.
That's very charitable of her to say.
It was like ... Yeah, she goes. She said, "I think that I was just a little bit intimidated by him. Plus, he's really tall and was super hot." There we go.
He does get maybe my favorite line of the movie, which I don't know if we want to get. It's about half an hour in, so I don't know if we want to get there yet.
Yeah,
but,
I think
we always jump. Don't worry about it.
The iconic line, "Check out the Bobos" on Superfruit.
Yeah. And then I did with respect. I did.
I know that cellar door is supposed to be like the perfect phrase, but I think "Check out the Bobos" on Super Freak is a very close second on that. Yeah,
oh god, it's so good.
It's just kind of beautiful. Yeah, I mean he really invented. I'd never heard the word, and I was a freshman in high school, and I had never heard the word Bobos before. So I think if I hadn't heard that, I was probably the target audience who would have come up with something like that. I'm just really impressive.
This is one of those things where either I can't remember what slang was in 1999, or it's kind of like vaguely making up slang a la, anything in Clueless or like Mean Girls, or it's quite literal. Like, because even though I am familiar with the idea of wigging out, there's that exchange between Rachael Leigh Cook and Freddie Prinze Jr. And he's like, she was like, there was major wiggage. I'm like, major wiggage? I don't think we said that, did we? So.
They did in the West Coast. I know you were in LA, but when I was in Seattle in the late 90s, that was a thing. Like wigging.
Did you say wiggage though? Wigging out, I understand. I couldn't get older right now.
Well, kind of like a polyshorification of wigging it. Yes.
You're wheezing the juice.
The whole like conjugation of slang was a very common to like take a slang word like wig or wigging and then like make fake conjugations of it was also a big trend in the 90s. So, like I'm wigtastic. Yeah, all that sort of thing. I don't think anybody's wigtastic.
I feel like you're writing a teen rom-com.
You know what I mean.
I do. So yes, okay. So Paul Walker is Paul Walker, who hates his best friend, is the only. We don't know why. We don't understand it. This rivalry is deeply confusing. But I just wrote in big letters, why does Paul Walker hate his best friend so much?
He's mad that he has 0.01% less male privilege than Seiler does.
Correct.
Yeah. Somehow, and like, or perhaps he's very jealous of the framed photo of Zach in the school,
which is
he also
so weird.
He also is like the least convincing smoker I've ever seen in a movie. I saw that was like an insane detail. It's like, okay, you have this guy who looks like he just emerged from the water at some point.
A literal seashell
in Malibu. I'm not going to believe him like sparking up parliaments and like blasting cigs end to end. Okay. Like he's not convincing as someone who's damaging their body.
It's funny that you should say that. This is the first time I noticed that he was doing that because he's subtle. There's like a scene where they're walking together. I think it is in the beginning. They walk across that quad several times. So forgive me if I can't remember which quad walk this was. These Quad City DJs. Oof.
Well, you know who is a convincing smoker is Jodie Lynn O'Keefe. Like she smokes a lot in this movie, and I'm like, oh, she's good at it. I see her.
Taylor,
she's like,
is that Taylor Vaughn?
Taylor, like she's smoking at graduation. She's smoking, and she's doing it the correct way each time as well. Like when she's drunk and smoking, like the cigarette's just sort of like dangling there a little bit and like a little bit loose. And then when she's like angry smoking at the end during graduation, I'm like, yeah, she's got it nailed down. I can see her.
That's a commitment to the craft right there.
It is. It is. Yeah.
That's like when I just
the Oscars.
With Sofia Vergara, who just did Griselda, that Cocaine Godmother fictional series, and I watched all these interviews of her having to like learn how to do cocaine, and I was like, "Poof, life is hard. Life is hard."
Commitment.
I also thought that this movie was absolutely getting money from Diet Coke. We got a lot of Diet Coke placement. She needed a Diet Coke at some point. I think when Paul Walker angrily puts a cigarette out while staring at whomever from the balcony, it was into like a can of Diet Coke. Diet Coke.
I think at one point Rory Culkin uses Diet Coke to make Zach a margarita. What he claims is a margarita.
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, and that margarita that took what felt like hours. He started making it when the sun was up, and he handed it to Freddie Prinze Jr. when it was night. And I went, "What's this margarita been doing? Where did it go?" He brought it right from Mexico. So.
Yeah. So I also want to say, like, so we meet Paul Walker, and he's the asshole friend who hates his best friend. And we meet Dule Hill, who is like the peacemaker.
Outfits.
He's awesome. He's so funny in this, but he's like the peacemaker guy who just wants everybody to get along and whatever. And it's almost like the Greek chorus of this movie. And then we meet Taylor, played, I think, really, actually, I mentioned her smoking skills earlier, but I think she's very good in this, Jodie Lynn O'Keefe. And I realized immediately there's the scene where she tells him that she's breaking up with him and why, and it's a very funny scene. And it's the scene with like when she meets Matthew Lillard, and they do the whole thing where like
that's a really fun flashback that they do to MTV Spring Break.
This was this is when we were talking about, or when I was saying that this movie has some directorial flair. This was another choice that like kind of impressed me a little bit. They're physically walking through her flashback. To the point where like she's pointing out herself on a float, dancing on a float in the pool.
Right. And he's wearing a Letterman jacket in the beach club, which I think is great, right? Yeah. So he's like, everybody else is like in bikinis, and he's got this like, he's dressed for like the fall, which I think is really funny. And I realized, so like, I had kind of two thoughts when she has that scene, and I was like, why would anybody date this person? First of all, like how is this guy upset that this horrible human being is breaking up with him? But then I was like, I think I grasped more watching it this time what Lee Fleming is trying to do here with the writing, which is that like it is a very grounded kind of like romantic comedy that takes place within this like heightened movie version of high school. He's like using a lot of these like tropes and caricatures to like place the story between Lainey and what the fuck's his first name? I want to say Scott, but that's
Zach.
wrong. Zach. It's the other name from that.
Zach Seiler.
Zach Seiler.
It felt a lot like they had the names Zach and Skyler, and they just couldn't decide between them. So they're like, we'll give him both of those names.
But there's so many of the teen movie like characters, including the like bitchy popular ex-girlfriend who's terrible to the, you know, the main character or whatever. Like there's so many of these unrealistic characters that exist within this like fairly grounded story. And I actually really liked the juxtaposition happening so much like throughout this movie that it felt like weirdly fantastical. What was kind of happening around them, but like their story is not. Their story feels very grounded.
Yeah,
and real.
It's sometimes like bordering on like magical realism. I mean, there is like this heightened reality.
Yes.
This heightened reality that exists. Like there's I think it's even in that breakup scene where she's breaking up with him, and he like kind of turns to like the entire school, and everyone goes back to talking. Yeah, like they were all watching him, and it's almost like a, you know, like this kind of 30 Rock heightened heightened reality.
Yeah, it's very like meta almost, and like self-aware, and almost like
it feels like a play.
Right?
This whole thing feels a bit like a play at times,
like a George Bernard Shaw play, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, with these movies, I always wonder: did like cliques in high school ever truly exist, or is it sort of like how the mafia was actually born from The Godfather? It wasn't like, I mean, the mafia existed, but they took on characteristics in The Godfather because they were like, oh, that is neat. And I'm like, I don't know about all that, but okay. So because in my high school, I always have to think about this. It was not like this at all. And I know this is a movie and it's heightened, but in general, we didn't have such clear cut anything.
No.
And I'm just wondering if that ever existed, or we've only ever seen it in movies. Chase, I don't know where you went to school, if you're still there for some reason, but like, what was it?
Yeah, I still hang around various high schools.
Listen, you know,
they have, you know, yeah. No, I went to a public high school in the Atlanta area in Georgia. I mean, there weren't, you know, it wasn't like, you know, when Lindsay Lohan's walking through the cafeteria in Mean Girls, and it's like, that's the cool Asians, those are the bit horny band geeks or whatever,
which is very much meta, right? Like that's very much satire.
Right.
I mean, Clueless too. Clueless had the same similar scene, but
yeah, and American Pie. Yeah,
but I just and I think I've never heard a single person be like, "Oh yeah, my high school was like that," and I'm like, well, maybe because again, John Hughes had it in his movie, so I'm like, is this something that was weirdly left over from the 70s? From this, is that where we're getting this? Like, where did this come from? I guess we'll never know.
Yeah.
Because now it seems like high schools soon mimic this bizarre. Like,
right. Yeah. So
which came
chicken
first?
Or the egg? Yeah.
But so he gets dumped by this hot, mean girl who I assume he was dating because, like the rest of Zach's life, that was just what you were supposed to do. He's very much grappling like with his future. The whole time. And I'm like, just go to the Animal House college that your dad went to. What's the big fucking deal? He had a great time and we all saw it. We've seen it. Put a horse in someone's office. Haven't seen this movie in years. Something about a horse, a pimple scene, and the end. But like, so I think what we learn about Zach quickly is that he's just been doing what he thought he was supposed to do, which is would include, however bitchy she is, dating the most popular girl in school, even though no one can fully understand why she's so popular. Like, who voted for this horrible woman? It shouldn't have been that close at the end. I know we're very much jumping around now, but this woman is unlikable to an alarming degree.
It's not like she has like a fall from grace and then she's mean to everybody. She's really kind of horrible to everyone all the time.
Yeah.
Well, what I love about. Go ahead, Chase. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say. I guess we're just supposed to know that she's at the top of the social hierarchy because she's hot.
Now you guys were boys.
Yeah.
Is that like, because girls aren't horny in the same way in high school? I'll speak for all the ladies out there. All this is gendered ladies. Our horniness was presented itself in different ways, but I do think y'all were just really at the mercy of your hormones. Do you think that a woman that hot, you would have been able to look past these glaring personality defects?
No.
In high school. Now you're a smarter, better person. Cheese.
Yeah, no, I don't. I don't really see the appeal. It's not like,
okay.
Yeah, it's not like, oh, well, she has a, I don't know. Well, at least she like donates a lot of money to various humanitarian causes or something. Yeah, there's really no redeeming qualities there.
She's a legacy.
I think like again, a lot of this is like. There's obviously probably books written about this, right? This thing that you're talking about, Jen, of the relationship between these tropes and reality and like what fed what and the other, right? And the idea that like when I was at least in public school for sure, there were the popular kids and the popular kids table and like certain cliques and like the Star Trek kids and that like that sort of thing definitely existed, not in sort of a formalized kind of way, right? But I think like why I love kind of the tone this movie takes in its sort of satirical nature, there's a great scene at the end where Taylor, when she becomes prom queen, and this is a very funny scene, it's very like inspired in the way that it's sort of written and produced, is she goes up there and she says, she thanks everybody for doing the right thing, for voting for her.
This is a very funny scene.
And then the mic cuts out, and you can see that she starts to like go on a tirade against all the idiots who didn't vote for her. But like nobody can hear her anymore. It's just like her wrapped up in her own bullshit.
That was legitimately funny, and it didn't cut out. The what's his face in the back unplugged it ever so subtly.
That's what I mean. Yeah, right.
And I was like, that's really funny too.
It is. But that tells you, I think, that signals, I think, a lot of kind of what is going on here, right? That it's almost like it's like paint by numbers. Like you have to vote for this girl because she is the popular girl. And it doesn't matter
nobody cares, which I suspect is also the case.
Cares.
And they're just like, whatever. We know this name. Because my school was enormous. Their school looks enormous. I think we had like 2,100 people in it, which is why I'm always equally as fascinated by one mega popular person. Because I don't even think I saw every human being in my school. Like I couldn't find all those faces for you. So to have like one standout superstar is always so interesting to me, especially when the school is that big.
School in particular is big enough that like people can be killed by vampires and no one notices on a regular basis.
There could be a hellmouth beneath it, and it's like there's plenty of room. That does bring me to another thing that I always see in movies that had never happened for me. Did your parents, were they as invested in your college plans as Tim Matheson was for Freddie Prinze Jr.? I mean, because he was like crazy about it.
I've never heard the word Dartmouth more than I have in this movie. That was and it was. I mean, I have to think that it's intentional because I feel like there's a scene where Tim Matheson is saying like that he had the time of his life in college, and I feel like that's got to be an intentional Animal House reference. But like, who's seeing this movie like would even have gotten that? Yeah, it is. It's kind of in the Varsity Blues area, the I don't want your life zone of like, for some reason in movies around this time period, every dad needed their son to go to the same college.
Yeah.
And I loved how Zach is hiding all of these acceptance and I only the college that I went to was not. I don't know if the acceptance letters really look like this or not, but they were all like increasingly desperate. Like it was like Dartmouth, Harvard's like, please come to Harvard. Please, we need you. Come to Harvard.
It was like is this an email from Nancy Pelosi? Why are you trying to court me so hard? Yeah, I also didn't believe for 1 second that he got into all those schools. I said, this has to be 1999. There's no way Zach is getting into Yale, into Harvard, into Dartmouth. I don't think so. So yeah, and I also didn't understand his strife because when he tells his father how he feels. Tim Matheson immediately goes, "Oh God, I'm so sorry.
Right. You could have had this conversation
I
a
didn't
long
mean to
time
make
ago.
you feel that way."
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, so all this for nothing?
He doesn't really have any problems.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't.
He didn't figure out how to communicate until he started doing performance art. So that's why it has to wait. It has to wait until now. Couple really quick notes on the early stages of the movie that I need to get to real quick. The scene. Okay, so first of all, this is a very minor gripe. A C- is not a GPA. I'm sorry, it's not. That's not how GPAs work.
Who said? I can't remember. Who said? I watched this movie a week and a half ago.
I think Zach says it about Taylor. I think, but
someone says she has
GPA. C- GPA. And I'm like, that's not. I'm going to blame that line on M. Night Shyamalan. I'm going to say he wrote that one, and that is not. So I also love, speaking of like good cinematography and actual attempts at art here. The scene where we first see like Lainey staring at her art before Clea Duvall tells her to go kill herself, like, is so gross and creepy, and I love it. It's so weird. Like the way she's lit is just like terrifying, and like it's great. It's great.
It is very funny to like the reverse shot where you see like that she's just used a pool filter. It looks like shit. I actually really can't tell, even at the end of the movie, whether we're supposed to think that Lainey is good at art or bad at art.
She doesn't even at the end paint a picture of her mother. I'm pretty sure she once again just like slaps on a photo of her mother, and then
there's a lot of telling, not showing going on at the end of the movie.
Yeah, but also
there's the day rape.
Oh my God. He was so excited to do it too. He held up that key in that bathroom and was like, I can't wait to force myself upon this lady. And I was like, okay, Paul, you're going a little too fast. And this is a little too furious, guys. No?
I get it. I get it.
Thank you.
I understood that reference.
Thanks. Cheers.
Anna Paquin, still working on that American accent?
God, Sookie.
Oh boy.
Hey, a vampire hiding in plain sight. Where is Sarah
Buffy
in Sunnydale?
Oh my God! Now, Chase, I don't want to get on a tangent, but were you a True Blood fan by any chance?
I took in things like through osmosis, just being like a general pop culture head about everything. But so I got like the vibe of it, but I wasn't like a watcher. Were you?
Oh God, yes. Embarrassingly so. We don't have to get into how many books about vampires are over my right shoulder right now. I don't mind. I don't mind it. But yeah, no, Anna Paquin, as someone who I believe at 9 years old, she won an Academy Award for the piano.
Yeah.
I like that for this one, she just went with like whatever accent she felt like in whatever scene.
This is my problem. Yeah, it's not great, Anna.
Don't try to hang your hat on an accent. You won't find it.
Listen, the New Zealand accent is the most ridiculous thing on earth, and like trying to not do it has got to be really hard. So,
but she's New Zealand Canadian, which is like the craziest combination of countries.
Oh my God, this poor girl.
And she's now married to a British man, so I don't know what her children's accents are doing, and she must just go in and out of wherever she is. It's got to be very jarring.
I think New Zealand, Canadian, British. I think you put all those together, you just get South African. I think it just comes out the other end.
The most difficult
single worst accent on earth.
It's so hard.
It's also awful.
I don't want to jump all over the place with movie fun facts, but there's one about Tim Matheson. There was this 2014 cast reunion piece in the Daily Beast.
Yeah,
and one of Tim Matheson's favorite memories from the shoot was, and this is a quote, filming by Ronald Reagan's Bel Air home. He loved it. He loved being by Ronald Reagan's Bel Air home. That's it.
Okay.
That's what he loved about it.
I feel like I'm picking up what he's putting down. if he's that excited about that, I feel like we can extrapolate some things about Tim Matheson.
He was like, what? Yeah. Who's up the street?
Yeah.
Like, oh, Jesus Christ. So that's your only takeaway from the movie. I thought that was
yeah
sad.
T-Math. So Anna Paquin, I also think this is interesting that Anna Paquin is like, I haven't really thought about this before either, but like Zach has a like weirdo-ish artist sister, and like that's kind of why, because like a lot of it to me is like, how does he even like break the ice? Like, how is he even connecting with Lainey's world at all? And I think the relationship with him and Anna Paquin is really sweet in this movie, and I actually like their dynamic as like brother and sister. And then I was like, oh, there's this like element to him in his life that he's always had, and I thought that was a cool like nod in the script of like making a lot of these movies will just sort of like a kid from a completely different world, like falls in love with someone who's from like the nerdy part of the social league or whatever, but like Anna Paquin's kind of like her, and I thought that was pretty cool. I also want to know who made the choice of Kieran Culkin's pants in this movie, because he wears some fucking pants.
Listen, I got a lot of feelings about Kieran Culkin's whole deal in this thing. There's a lot of choices going on. He's trying to give people fresh ground pepper and on rollerblades in the cafeteria. I mean,
he's insufferable.
What's going on with this kid?
Well, I could also tell you that about the hearing aids, which we just sort of see but never acknowledge. I don't believe anyone ever says anything about his hearing aids. And when he was asked about it, Kieran Culkin told the Daily Beast, this is just one of those movies that's always on. And I know this because my friends are always letting me know when they're watching it, and they're like, why did you have hearing aids? And I'll just be like, I don't fucking know. That's a quote. The quote from Kieran.
That's great.
Nobody knows.
So even he doesn't know.
So do you think that their message was, if you have a hearing aid, you're a dork who deserves to be bullied? Is that what we're doing?
I think it was maybe like a not very nuanced attempt at like just having some kind of built-in empathy for him or something like that. It was strange. I wasn't sure if that is not related to the mom's death. Was there some kind of like, situation where they were in a car together and they went off a bridge and landed in the water and his hearing was affected? I mean, I'm just, my head canon is I'm just creating a whole backstory here.
Chase is he's writing the prequel as we speak, the origin story.
I mean, I think it's just a matter of like kids in this kind of environment with any kind of disability get picked on. I think that's just sort of what that's sort of, without putting him in like a wheelchair or something, that's sort of the way that it signals that he is, because like I can tell you from experience in public school, like that is the sort of thing that you would make you a target for being picked on, is like having hearing aids when you're like 10, for sure.
Really?
Yeah.
Chase? Yeah. You're a boy. Chase?
I would never. I never picked on anybody.
I didn't think you did. No. I'm just trying to say, like, again, girls pick on each other in different, more insidious ways that are, I believe, more psychologically damaging.
Break each other down psychologically.
So my last name is Tisdale, and they called me Jen No Titsdale, and I thought that was great. And to this day, still think it's great. Still, it doesn't hold up anymore, but appreciated it at the time. Very clever gals. But I'm just trying to remember why people were bullied, and it was because they were sort of different. But I don't remember if a disability ever played into it. They were just rollerblading around with pepper.
I mean, right, and that's what like it would have kind of seemed like when he is getting bullied in the famous fresh ground pepper scene, if he was getting bullied about the hearing aid, that would have then you would have been like, oh wow, these guys are fucking assholes. They need to eat pubes. Oh
god,
but they don't. They don't touch it. It is just, I guess, kind of. Oh, one of the we are skipping around, but this is the weirdest bullying I've ever seen. He sits the kid down, possibly in his lap, and is having him look at granny at granny porn that he owns. So he's gone and before he decided to bully this kid, he went out and bought granny porn on his own. tactile.
Probably
we're not
from
talking
a 7-Eleven.
Yeah. And he's showing him this, which I think would get you canceled now if you were showing a child porn
Probably
in a high school.
more than canceled, Chase.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, just the weirdest shade of bullying I've ever seen.
That guy is also, and I wrote this down as a note. That guy is also wearing a T-shirt that says "Kill all artists."
Yes.
With a
Oh yeah.
And I wrote, that is a very pre-Columbine T-shirt.
Yes, it is.
Wearing.
Now, Chase, you might not be aware of this, but John and I are aware of it because 1999 is this podcast, but this is the year of Columbine, and specifically it was in April of 1999.
I was aware. I do recall.
Okay. Well, I don't know if you just if you burned that date into your head, maybe not. But so we're always kind of dancing around like, was this before BC or A? See, that's an awful joke stuff too. But
very clearly,
when you obviously that T-shirt would have never happened.
Yeah.
So
I actually think that Zach forcing these guys to eat pubes is what ultimately radicalized them and caused them to go purchase AR-15s. So
yeah.
I think we have Zach Seiler to blame for that.
That guy, the guy in the Columbine shirt or whatever, that's the fictional character at January 6th.
That guy was definitely there. When I was watching this with my boyfriend, one thing we kept trying to figure out is Kieran Culkin, he's in high school with them, and it wasn't until he showed up in that scene, because obviously he's like there sort of at the end of the school day when Lainey goes like, come on, and takes him away in that really funny scene where Freddie Prinze Jr. is embarrassed. But I was like, I don't know, is he middle school? Is he in high school? And I guess
he seems too young to be there. So yeah, I'm not really sure what the deal is going on. There's
he just skates up for
There's a lot of
Pepper?
Logistical questions. Yeah. I think I think he has a free period in the middle of the day, and he just skates on over to high school.
He's got like a work-study program at the high school where he does Adam Sandler's Pepper.
He could be in 8th grade. It might be one of those high schools that has like 8 through 12. That's possible.
It could be those weird K through 12 situations where
K through 12. Sure.
And that's Greg, my boyfriend. If you're listening, I know that was you. It's not always religious. Sometimes it's just space. Well,
where are the kindergartners in this movie? I want to know what their take on all the prom queen drama was.
Yes, and what would they have to say about the granny porn?
It is pretty crazy that the logistical stuff of what schools which characters go to is all pretty crazy, because going back to Anna Paquin, like, why her older brother who got into every college in America is going to like a pretty clearly like a public school in LA, but she's at a private school where she's wearing ties every day.
I think she doesn't strike me as an artist. I read her as a quote unquote, she's the naughty kid, she's the second kid, she's the bad girl. That's why she's like, putting on her when we first meet her, she's putting on all of her eyeliner kind of like maybe after school, like, the sort of thing where it's like school's over now I can be my real self, which is same outfit but black eyeliner. But I think she's kind of was banished to a private school because she was probably fucking up. I don't know.
I think that's
maybe.
right. I think yep. I like it.
Yeah.
But she goes to the prom and then meets fucking Nelson. So
Eldon Henson. I got a lot of questions about that guy too, because up until that scene, and I had forgotten. It's been a while. It had been a while since I'd seen the movie, so I forgot about that scene bringing those two characters together. Yeah, which is pretty crazy, because I was very sure before that, for like the first hour and 15 minutes of the movie, that he was her gay friend, and that they just maybe couldn't say it out loud. So because it's still 1999. So instead they made him gay for snacks. Which is kind of
Oh my god! I wish
which
this
was
was
still
like
not okay in the 90s.
I wish this was a podcast that like How Did This Get Made style does a T-shirt every episode, because I want a T-shirt that's like says "gay for
Gay
snack,"
for snack, like Foggy Nelson.
The way gay was
Intended.
meant to be used, guys.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
He's pulling like a cinnamon bun out of a pocket on his overalls.
He's like
what's
Brad Pitt
going
in
on
Ocean's 11.
In all seriousness, though, Chase, like if this were made today, he definitely would be the gay best friend. Like, there's no. I mean, I think you're not sort of. I think you're right that is basically the
it's
subtext, but you can't make it text.
There was a palpable. It felt like they wanted that, because even the first time that he mentioned Zach, he's like, he's the most handsome guy in school, and I was like, well, yeah. Okay. But like, and then so yeah,
no, he's not. It's Paul Walker. Do you people have eyes?
Right. I know.
Or maybe Anna Paquin made him straight. Who knows? It's possible.
Hey, if anyone could,
it's Rogue from X-Men,
honey. Yeah. One of the LOL moments that I had was with I don't know his name, but he is a character actor when he's ordering his falafel balls.
Oh God,
it was an easy joke. It's fine, I don't mind it. But when he's like the my balls bit, I was like, guys, this is great.
That's a damn good joke. I don't care who you are. That's a damn good joke. Yeah.
Loved every second. Like to supersize his balls, and honestly, Rachael Leigh Cook gave him just such a withering stare. I went, "This is guys."
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, the other. I don't want to like undersell how good Rachael Leigh Cook is in that scene.
She's very good in this movie in general.
Wearing that fucking falafel hat and just like knowing exactly what look to give to make that joke land and work. It's fantastic. But yes, I love that.
I have another, just like I always point out, I keep pointing out, like, is this what it was like in your life? But with movies like this, the proverbial middle class, Rachael Leigh Cook has a very nice big house, or her dad does. Where I'm from, that's now I know compared to some of these people, we saw the Harrison Ford house, which was another very fun line. The actor, but still, let's be real for 1 second. That house is probably, they're in Southern California. That house is at least $1 million or so, right? Like, to act as if she's on the other side of the tracks when they've got a pool. It was crazy to me.
I had the same thought. It actually didn't really fully occur to me until there's a final crane shot in the movie, but when they're kissing by the pool, and the like crane shot kind of goes up, and you see that they're like living in the hills, and they have a pool, obviously, and it's like, they're living in like a $1 million house.
This is a very nice house. Do you think they were like not in LA proper, but if they were, maybe they're in the valley? Maybe. I know you said hills, but I felt the house itself felt like the valley to me, just aesthetically. But anyway,
I just think Kevin Pollak is the most successful pool guy that's ever lived.
Maybe the dead mom was rich.
There's a lot of pools. No, she was a photographer.
What if she was Annie Leibovitz? Like, who knows?
Then she's just angry.
Did you know, by the way, that the woman, the actress who plays the picture of her mom is Kieran Culkin's,
who plays the picture?
Kieran Culkin's aunt, I think that's right. I think it's Kieran Culkin's aunt. Yeah,
that's very interesting.
Oh wow!
I mean, anyway. let's get into the Kevin Pollak of it all, because I can tell you that. I'll tell you why he chose to do this movie.
Okay,
It's very fun, and I couldn't agree more. This is from the Daily Beast article again. He said, "I was sent the script, liked it, but I wasn't until I heard that Freddie Prinze Jr. was the lead that I agreed to do it." This is, again, all Kevin Pollak. You have to remember, this was before most people knew him as a film actor, or millions of teenage girls fell in love with his charming smile. I had seen him in a tiny dramatic film called House of Yes. I love that movie. With Parker Posey, and thought he was the absolute real deal. So Kevin Pollak signed on to do this motion picture. I love House of Yes. It's a great movie.
Oh, it's a great
movie. Because he was like, oh, Freddie Prinze Jr. is doing it, then I'm in. I find that to be fascinating.
That's wild. Yeah.
Chase, have you seen House of Yes? It's very weird. If you haven't, I would recommend it.
I have not. But also, if you had given me 25 guesses of why he did this movie, I would not have come up with that. That is wild.
I would have been at like guess 764. I'm like, okay, you saw House of Yes. I don't, like, yeah, and
who
right.
could have predicted it? He plays in it like a very like incestuous. It's a very incestuous role where Parker Posey plays his sister, and it's very bizarre, but it's super weird.
I mean, I get it. For Parker Posey, I
Honey,
get it.
from your lips. All right, go ahead. I'm so sorry.
I am on record as a Pollock stan, and like the Jeopardy thing is so funny that it's almost distracting for the rest of the movie. Like I was so just like paying attention to what's happening on Jeopardy and what he's about to say, that I'm ignoring the rest of the scene. But like,
yeah,
couple of my favorites are the one about Welsh invented this as an alternative to alcoholic wine, and Pollock goes, "What is non-alcoholic wine?" and the best one, I think, is the one where it talks about, you know, this city's French Quarter, and then he goes, "What is Paris, France?" Oh, fucking, it's so good.
Oh my god!
It's amazing. The confidence. He is completely undeterred the entire time. Yeah. Every answer he gives with the same amount of confidence. It doesn't matter how many he's gotten wrong.
Yeah, which is all of them. Every question.
And that scene ends with him going, "Wait, who are you people?" Because there's like two guys in his kitchen.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, the soccer team. Yeah.
Yeah, I was so distracted by him that I didn't know who they were either. So I was completely on his side.
Oh, you forgot the JV team was tasked with cleaning her house.
Yeah, Lee, if you're listening, A plus on this.
Yeah,
scene.
A+. One of those boys was Milo Ventimiglia. I'll say it.
That's
again.
right. It was.
I noticed it this time. This was the first time. It was ever so brief when Freddie Prinze Jr. opens the door and they walk in, and I went, "Is that Milo Ventimiglia? Save the cheerleader, save the world. That Milo, Jesse, Is that was Jess or the other from Gilmore Girls? Anyway, whatever. Something. This is us.
Our second Heroes reference on this podcast in recent weeks.
I remember loving that show.
Yeah.
Oh, I sure watched it. I stuck with it all the way to the end.
Are you kidding? Did you watch Heroes Reborn as well?
No, I didn't. They couldn't get me back for that, but I actually used to write recaps of it for college humor at the time. Yeah, I was very in. I was all in.
I mean, I did love it. It was thrilling. It was incredible. Yeah. God, is it available somewhere? It was an NBC show, right?
another Siler, perhaps related to Zach.
Yes. And wait, then the actor's real name, was that Zachary Quinto who played him?
Yeah.
Zach Quinto played Siler. Zach, come on.
It's all connected.
Wow.
It's all connected.
Save the cheerleaders.
It's all connected.
Save the world.
Save the cheerleader. Taylor is a cheerleader in the movie. Save Taylor, save the world.
Oh my God, guys, this is now
we just cracked something.
So it's a backdoor prequel to Heroes set in the Buffyverse. Is what we've uncovered about this movie so far. We got to talk about our lovely boy, Matthew Lillard, our honorary adopted child. Listen, so first of all, his whole dance scene is just too fucking good for words. Belongs in the museum. It's wonderful.
Yes.
But also, like, I was thinking about this today, rewatching it as well, was one of the things I just love about this movie, and the Jeopardy thing's kind of part of that, is like the peripheral stuff is just so good. It's so funny. And the best when it comes to ML is the actual real world scenes are so that's when it really shines. Like, he's kind of annoying as the guy in real life, but like the fake real world they did is just absolutely spot on, perfect, no notes, A+.
I mean, this is the man that Matthew Lillard is. He's basically playing, like it's pretty obviously like a slightly heightened parody of Puck from San Francisco.
Yep.
But he makes him somehow likable. Like, I mean, obviously he's like a piece of shit, but you still kind of, you're like, I get it. Like, he's he's like way more charismatic than the real Puck ever could have been. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah, I didn't Google specifically his dance scene, but I do want to believe that that was on the fly, that there was very little choreography in that scene. And that song weirdly cycles through. I use YouTube Music. That's my preferred app. And when that song comes on, I only think about Matthew Lillard every single time. And it has been years, not just recently because we're doing this movie. This has been years of me thinking of Matthew Lillard in that scene. It's crazy. It's fucking crazy.
I suspect you're right, because as I was watching it, I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, did they do many takes of this, or is this all just him letting it all go in one improv scene? And I think it's probably the latter. And I think, like, if you actually look at the reaction of the people that he is like dancing at, they are very natural react. Like, they are literally they're taken off guard and sort of can't contain their laughter, which is part of what makes it so so delightful.
I'm someone who, if this happened at a party, I'd be like, who is this guy? I need to hang out with him. I need to be like, this is the guy I want to hang out with. Everyone is looking at him like he's the biggest dork. And I'm like, is everyone crazy right now? This is the best guy at the party.
Yeah, he's the most interesting person there by a very long way.
He's incredible. When he gets on the floor, it's unstoppable. Yeah. What is everybody doing?
I love how when he starts doing it too, the Taylor's like, oh my God, not again. Like, he does this all the time. This is like the 30th time she's seen him do it.
My favorite thing about this whole about his casting and the whole sort of like idea of the character, and I was like, I watched closely today to make sure I'm right about this. You can take him out of the movie entirely and it changes nothing. It just adds like, there's nothing about the plot that you actually need this character to really exist. He is just there for like the sheer entertainment of it all, and that is it's gratuitous and wonderful, and more movies should do that kind of thing. But it really is like, it's almost as though Lee Fleming was like sitting there being like, how do I make this longer? And like, what if I add a real world storyline and base a guy on Puck and have like Matthew Lillard play it, and that'll add 20 minutes to my movie. So and also make it very funny. But I love that. I mean, do more shit like that, writers. I think that's great. But yeah, he's completely unnecessary to the plot, like at all. No.
He does he does plant the seed that choreographed dancing is very important to these kids.
Yeah,
fair enough.
which does come back later.
It does come back later. Yes, they are really big into it.
Involved prom decorating. I mean, again, all proms in every single movie I've never recognized or connected to.
I mean, I love that this prom is somehow like the biggest deal in the world, and yet also not. Like, there's so much like preparation going on. Somehow Usher has been like holding dance classes for every student in school all year long, and yet on the night of the dance, like, all of our main characters don't know who they're going to the dance with. So it's like somehow the biggest deal in the world, and yet also thrown together at the last minute.
Paul Walker,
amazing.
Is his deal that, again, supposed to be, I'm assuming Freddie Prinze Jr.'s one of his very good friends. All he does is shit on him the whole time.
Yeah.
Very confusing friendship. And then the thing at the end where he's asking her out, it's because he can tell they actually like each other, I think, or he's just trying to get the bet to, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what he's doing.
It is confusing.
I don't know what he's doing in this motion picture, except smoking.
I think he's trying. I think he's just trying to get at Super Freaks Bobos. You know?
Once he saw those Bobos, man, there was no turning back. He was a man on a mission.
Jesus,
failed mission.
Super freak. But again, okay, I want to say something a little bit mean. And I'm sorry, but I'm taking it back to the beginning with this one. When they are initially trying to pick out a girl, the women that pass by are decidedly more difficult. I'm sorry to say, I don't know how else to say it, than Rachael Leigh Cook. And let's just take out the fact that she's a beautiful actor. Like, just in general, those women, far more difficult. I didn't understand what was happening.
I have thoughts on this. When that was happening, I was like, uh, oh, oh my gosh, like who had to respond to a casting call for like, okay, Paul Walker is going to talk shit about you as you cross and hit your mark. It seems
and let
huge
me
bummer.
tell you
He'd say, he says that one of them has like a Chelsea Clinton quality, which is
Yep.
a very 90s burn.
Yep.
Sorry,
It was
Jen,
her.
what were
It
you
was her
saying?
hair. It was her frizzy hair. I was just gonna say
Yeah,
I'm responding to that ad. If I'm honest, I'm like, you want me to do what? That's fine. And
but yeah,
action.
and then they do, and obviously, not another teen movie kind of like really skewered a lot of this in a very in a very clever way. But yes, and
Yeah.
then of course the like somehow the final boss for Paul Walker is Rachael Leigh Cook, who I'm sorry looks absolutely fucking adorable in glasses. Like there is no moment in this movie. The second they show her face, like the premise of the movie shatters. Like she would be cleaning up as a barista in Silver Lake. Like there is just
Yeah.
no world. There's no world where she's not getting people writing their phone numbers on their receipts.
Yeah.
But we're supposed to
Literally
believe that.
cleaning up,
Yeah.
figuratively.
I will say that I do appreciate, and this is something else that I noticed this time. Before I get to that, like her hair is terrible, and Anna Paquin is right when
Yes.
she's like, the thing that is bad is your hair. You should fix that because it doesn't flatter your face. And I'm like, that's true. She looks bad in that hairdo. What I also kind of like really appreciate, and it's really subtle, that like her personality doesn't actually really change dramatically, which in a lot of movies like this, it probably would. She is genuinely a
Well,
little
look at
bit like,
Clueless. Look what happened to Ty in Clueless. She became a totally different person, and a
or like
worse
Sandy
one.
in Grease,
Yeah,
right? Like it's,
listen.
but
We can't get
it's,
into that.
I like that she is a little like weird and off-putting. Like she is like kind of rude and awkward in the beginning, right? And that element of her like persists throughout the movie. She just kind of like softens to like I like the actual transformation here, that I don't think it dwells so much on the like, now she took her glasses off and she's a completely different person and she's hot now. It's like, well, she was always hot. But also she has this sort of like weird personality that stays, and I like that
I
about
think
it.
that's what they
Still,
were referring to when they were thinking this was a challenge, because I guess,
right.
what am I talking about? They actually say it. He's like, whatever, what's the list? This I can handle, that I can handle, but
Yeah,
whatever
that's
the
right.
fuck, whatever
Right.
descriptors Freddie Prinze Jr. uses, it's basically saying
Right.
this is an antisocial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This will be hard because she's got no personality and she's this prickly, horrible monster.
Yeah.
But that's also like, to go back to the art room scene with Clea
Oh my
Duvall.
God. Yeah.
They told her to kill herself.
Yeah, again, this is a pre-Columbine movie. This is
No,
not a
but
post-Columbine
it's like,
movie.
but I'm still not seeing. Okay, first of all, there's no reason to say that to someone. A,
Yeah.
B, I don't see anything that suggests that this person has warranted that level of like
I know.
rage and hate.
Oh,
It's very now.
It's so
It's
sneaky
wild.
too, because both times that Clea Duvall is a straight up monster in this movie. Absolutely. And I think she says something in the later scene at the party where she's like very drunk and she somehow
It's like, how does it feel?
even though she is blacked out, she still somehow manages to say the most horrible thing possible to our baby Rachael Leigh Cook. But like yeah, in that first scene, it's like I think she says something about being rich and getting into art school in that scene. So you're like, okay, so she's also, kind of like like alphaing Lainey on in some kind of status way. But before that, you wouldn't really know that because Clea Duvall has played, in like The Faculty and like
A
Can't Hardly
movie I
Wait.
love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Faculty and Can't Hardly Wait. She's an outcast also, so it kind of is like a weird sell to be like, okay, wait, why is this person who also traditionally plays like an outcast being so mean to Lainey, and also saying something that's so much meaner than anything Taylor says to her.
Shocking.
It's like, okay, so Taylor's saying
Yeah.
you're vapor, but Clea Duvall is saying kill yourself.
She wants you to die. Although I will say this, if someone, a gun T-shirt to my head, if I had to choose which art I wanted hanging on my wall, it's the weird clown painting. I'm sorry. They zipped by Clea Duvall's painting, and I went, oh, I don't hate it.
And
as John knows, and I hate contemporary art. And this is not a joke, Chase. I fucking hate it.
And Lainey does get her revenge by making Clea the biggest clown of all.
Yeah. The artiste has become the art. Ha ha ha. Then I thought to myself, how long was she in that bathroom? That had to have been at least an hour. What was
speaking of art and contemporary art, the Alexis Arquette scene is absolutely perfect. It is.
This was the first time I realized that's who that was. Realized this was the first time I realized that was Alexis Arquette. R.I.P.
Yeah.
To
I have been to that before. And it is
to that performance, because I thought that was the Groundlings Theater.
I have seen so much bad performance art that it is all just barely funny enough to be parody, but just barely. It is painfully accurate, and I love that scene, and her and her fucking mime makeup as he's doing the whole hacky sack. It's perfect. It's so weird.
Well, he's calling himself a hack while he's doing it. Is some of the Chase, do you live in LA right now? And you don't have to give us your address, but if you'd like,
I do. Yeah, my cross streets are yeah, I do live in LA. I'm in the Los Feliz area.
Okay. You're okay. You're in that Vermont area. Okay.
Yeah. Seen a lot of bad improv, but I haven't necessarily.
That's where I was going.
I haven't seen any black box performance art like this.
You're going to the Virgil to watch some comedy.
Right.
Well, I lived in Brooklyn in the 2000s, so
disgusting.
Yeah. Yeah.
I went to a performance art piece. Believe it or not, DC does have a thriving art scene. It's not just about people trying to topple the democracy. There's so much more here. But in that vein, the artist had a huge paper mache of papier mache of Donald Trump. And, you were encouraged to, of course, hit it. And I was like, okay. And it always just feels like I don't think anyone understands performance art. And I think everyone just sits around and acts like they do. And then everyone just kind of pats
including and
themselves.
especially the performers. So,
Chase, what are your thoughts? Do you have art that you like? I mean, I see a style. I very much don't like contemporary art. I really, really don't. I'm sorry.
I'm a hacky sack bouncer. It's a passion. It's doesn't get a lot of respect, but we're out there. There's tens of us.
Yeah, there's tens of us. If there's a patch of grass, you're gonna find us.
Yeah. Honestly, that's good attention to detail, though. Hacky sacks, 90s, that guy. That's.
I mean, also I was definitely playing soccer around this time. This movie came out in the 1 or 2 year window where soccer briefly supplanted football as the sport to be playing when you're to be cool. I will give Freddie Prinze Jr. this. He does look like a high school soccer player.
He does.
Yeah, you know who doesn't? Dule Hill. You know who else doesn't? Paul Walker.
Paul Walker should be a football player.
Yeah, he doesn't belong within 5,000 feet of a soccer field. That was
a school, because I do believe when he was 30, he dated a 16-year-old.
Okay,
all right,
fine. We can do that too.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Sorry, I don't like the
truth. You, Dane Cook. Anyways,
yeah.
Fuck that.
But now, as a soccer player, this scene I was very curious about. I've obviously seen the sport of football. Mm-hmm. Was this a game or a practice? Because I thought it was a practice based on what they were wearing, because I've never seen a uniform like that. I don't know if it's a Southern California thing, but the intensity at which they were reacting to him missing made me feel like it was a game. Guys, what do you think? Was this real? Was this what's happening on this?
I don't even think they knew. I think it was just that scene served a purpose to like let you know, like, hey, this is what this guy does when he's not performing on stage for
at the Groundlings.
For Alexis.
I think Chase is right. Yeah, I think that is the correct answer.
He's doing Cooking with Gas on Thursday nights. He's in the Sunday Company. He's going to be there pretty soon.
Real quick, speaking of this, though, and this gets back to something you were saying earlier, Jen, the soccer game and Freddie's lack of vigor in the soccer game leads accusations from Paul Walker that he's not playing well because he's not having enough sex. And I'm just like, is that seems like having a sex addiction in high school seems bad. And that seems like a different storyline that should be explored somehow.
Well, do you remember what he said in the beginning? I wrote it down because I said, why is Paul Walker so horny? Or were they like something about what did you do during your spring break? And I think he said something about having sex with a flight attendant.
Yes. Yeah, he did.
And I was like, did this Paul Walker? Come on. Yeah. And that's, I mean, I know he looks 35, but I've never seen a hornier high school student in a movie before. It was very alarming. I was like, very upset.
In perhaps another instance of him making up slang, he says in regards to Lainey that she might be a great little jam, which is something that I've never heard before.
Oh my God. He got all the good lines.
Well, and also I will say, like, Paul Walker, my favorite Paul Walker bit actually is a joke that I think is really clever, and it always like took me a second to get it, which is when he can't hear his name at graduation, and I was like, oh, it's a callback to the fucking horn, like that like that's why she wasn't date raped because she horned him, and
from horny to horned, the Paul Walker, she's all that story.
Selling that joke, I think, is actually really good. I'm like, why can't he fucking hear like?
Yeah, he does comedically play that very well. I do also love for that scene that it requires several of the main characters to have last names that start with S because it's graduation.
So they can all sit together.
And they have to be announced in order. So
and he's bulldozing through those names, man. Like they don't have a second to like get up and take like shake hands. They're name. I'm like, that's not how graduations work ever. It's always, a minute and a half between each name. And it's, we are trying to make something happen in this ending, and it involves soccer balls and other kinds.
It involves a guy showing his dick to his entire school, which I think would maybe revoke some of those college acceptance letters.
Yeah, they would.
But it is worth it for that look on Rachael Leigh Cook's face in the end when she sees the dick.
Catches the ball and looks like Cinderella with the
enter sixpence none the richer. Yeah.
It's weird. If someone had thrown a ball at me that had just been covering their penis, I don't know if I would have held on to it for as long as she did. She was like, yeah, okay. And I was like,
I think at this point she's a big fan of his penis. So I think she's become accustomed because we know now once he's back in his game, which means he's been having sexual intercourse with
which was set up by her dad turning the Christmas lights on around Google.
I know.
God bless you.
Really
I do want to say that scene,
godfather of this movie,
that scene where they do like the pan reveal that he's
in the corner,
that he's standing in the living room. I just want to point out that like he was standing there while Kevin Pollak was reading his son, like talking to his son about swimming pools, and the son was falling asleep.
Yeah,
he's just standing there for all of that.
Freddie Jr.'s just standing in the corner, full tuxedo, in front of what I consider to be one of the most gorgeous stone fireplaces. I panned over from him and I went, "Look at that fireplace!"
Again, very successful pool guy.
That's one of the choices I like about this movie is like, that's very funny, just leaving that there and just like letting that implication kind of settle in and not having to explain it away. It doesn't make any sense. And it's great. It's a good little.
Can I tell you what I was worried about? This is not a real, worried is maybe too strong. We see in the graduation scene that the one bully graduates, but not the redhead, not the Shermanator.
Well, he went to the American
well, at least
Pie
he went
High
to prom.
School.
Yeah, he went to American Pie High School. But I got very worried about what Kieran Culkin's life was going to be like when he didn't have Freddie Prinze Jr. there to protect him. Now, this isn't real. The movie stops when it stops. But I kept thinking, well, he's not going to be there next year. Who's going to protect him?
Well, he went into the foster care system and he was adopted by the Roy family.
Logan Roy.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
And he ended
Perhaps
up all
we'll
right.
find out in They're All That, the third installment of the She's All That extended universe.
It is crazy that that's what happened to Kieran Culkin. That's how Kieran Culkin ended up from, like, pissing in a bed in the Home Alone, or maybe pissing in a bed at Home Alone next to his real life brother, to Emmys, whatever, Golden Globes, whatever.
Wearing a lot of decorative bracelets on his wrist every time.
Sure.
You know, that's his style.
It's a Culkin style. So we should probably conclude with this, which is like we've been doing all these rom-coms. We've been talking a lot about the chemistry between the two leads in our two Julia Roberts movies that we've talked about recently. Mm-hmm. By the way, Julia Roberts makes a little cameo in this movie. I'd forgotten about that.
What?
Yeah, well,
is it a post? Is it a billboard or something?
No, it's the line. I feel like Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman.
Except for the whole hooker thing.
The hooker
little against sex work. That line. But, you know,
well, again, very 90s. You can't have a gay best friend and you can't endorse sex work. It's the 90s. So yeah, I thought that was funny. There's still Julia Roberts connective tissue to this little movie. I think actually the one thing that I consistently don't like about this movie is not enough of the two of them alone. Like, not enough of the two of them building.
Yeah, you don't really get, like, when now I'm going backwards again. When they're on the beach together, and Freddie Prinze Jr. says to her, "If we really want to do this," I was like, she doesn't want to do this. If we really want to be friends, I'm like, what are you talking about? She has been steadily saying no to this man. Yeah. And then suddenly she's like, yeah, I guess you're right. He's like, you got to get to know my friends. And she's like, yup. And I'm like, what? Yeah. You've turned him down 100 times. When did this happen?
I'm always wondering if it's like, I've always been like, is their chemistry not great, or is it something else? Their chemistry is great. I love when they're together. The something else is exactly that. I want more of building that relationship and like showing how it develops. It does feel very kind of jarring at times.
Yeah.
It doesn't get there organically, and that's my one.
I do feel like we maybe haven't said enough how great she is in this. I do think she's really incredible in it.
She's all that.
And I'm not just saying that because she follows me on Twitter, and I looked her up on Wikipedia, and she did get a divorce in 2021, and like I'm hoping that she might hear this
from Daniel Gillies, who was in the spinoff from the Vampire Diaries. The oh my god, I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, I tracked that as well. Honey, I love you for listening, but because I loved that
Rachel,
guy.
If you're listening, we love you. And
wait, but does she really follow you on the Twatch?
She does actually. She and no, I'm just bragging, but she and Matthew Lillard. I realized during this.
Chase, I might have to make a request you're not going to want to do.
No, anyway, I'm just saying, if she happens to hear this, I saw that she's possibly single.
I mean, look, if you happen to tweet about it and you happen to like tweet at her, I'm sure.
We've just turned into Tinder for Rachael Leigh Cook.
Listen,
we are swiping right on you, Rachel. At least
have you considered not wearing glasses because your eyes
are beautiful, Chase.
Beautiful.
They really are.
Rachel, are you listening?
I do have glasses, but much like her in this movie, I got rid of them with no explanation of how I now see.
Yeah, because previously you didn't want to touch your own eyeball. Right. That was very an upsetting prospect. Now, something I learned in an interview that I watched of both Rachael Leigh Cook and Freddie Prinze Jr. on the set of the film back when they used to do that sort of thing, where they I guess they were like, we know this is going to be a hit, so we're probably going to win. Or it was maybe for the DVD extras, who can say? But they're both still in, well, he doesn't have like any costuming, but she's got her terrible wig on. And she says, she's very saying like, I look kind of dumpy. And I'm like, I don't know what she's talking about. But then she says, and look, they added a unibrow to me. And she dips her glasses down and I'm like, I still can't see it. Honey, if they wanted to give you a unibrow, like give me a unibrow. I didn't, she pointed to like 4 hairs.
Anna Paquin even has a line about it. And I didn't I didn't understand what she was talking about because I didn't see it either.
I
They
was
should have really
lost.
given her. They should have given her the full Frida.
The full Frida. Yeah, they should have, Groucho Marxed those guys right across.
Yeah.
Build the wall. That's not it.
Build the wall.
That's not.
Build that wall.
If there's one thing you take away from this episode, it's build the wall.
Build the wall. That's right. That's the pulled quote. But again, like if you just like tweet her.
Tweet her. Yeah, no, it's fine.
Just tweet her.
Yeah, I mean, who knows?
She does like really fun Hallmark movies now.
She does.
And I love Hallmark movies. I'm not being like.
And she was in the Legacy sequel, which
he's all that.
Should have been about Laney Boggs' son, but wasn't for some reason. But she does play the mom in that. But yeah,
but not her character.
No, it's because it's not. Yeah, big mistake on their part. Absolutely should have been same character.
And does Matthew Lillard? No, not Matthew Lillard. Does Freddie Prinze Jr. come back? Is she the only one in this movie?
No,
from the original?
Lillard does. No, Lillard does.
He does,
but he's not the same character. But he's there.
Isn't he like the principal? I think maybe.
Yeah, he is.
It would have been incredible if they had him still being his character, and he's on like the 10 millionth season of like Road Rules versus the Real World. Like, what? Come on! Like,
he's basically like CT in the challenge now.
Yeah,
he's one of those like.
That's who he's now just like doing like The Voice or whatever. I don't know, whatever you do when you've been cast off of various reality show islands, literal and otherwise. Now he probably would have had a podcast about reality shows. That's what you do now. So yeah, that's incredible. Oh, maybe she'll see it. Now I feel like Rachel, if you're listening, call us.
That'd be great. We like you a lot. All right, we should start wrapping up. I think we could talk about this movie. I feel like for another 3 hours, but we're not gonna.
Chase, I'm sure you're very busy. I see the dog.
I
got a lot of petting to do.
I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous.
Jen, before we do that, do you have any more fun trivia that we should just knock off?
Golly. On the old spot. I mean, during their interview, that weird on-set interview, both Freddie Prinze Jr. and Rachael Leigh Cook claimed they were not cool in high school. Freddie Prinze Jr. said there was some sort of spike during his senior year, but that lasted a few months when, and I quote, people remembered how dorky he really is. A sad fact about this movie. Do you want to end on a sad fact, or do you? So, sorry, let me find it. So his father, Freddie Prinze
Sr.,
he committed suicide. I said sad on January 28th, 1977, and died the next day. And then the movie came out January 29th, 1999, basically 22 years afterwards. And because of this, Freddie Prinze Jr. did not want to go to the premiere. He was like, and I quote, he said, and I quote, I had crazy visions like something bad was going to happen, but I got there and everyone seemed to enjoy it. And they said, I've only seen the film once and it was in that weird frame of mind. So I've never really gotten the opportunity to properly appreciate it.
Freddie, watch the movie. Lovely.
That is a sad. Should I find it? I said it was sad, guys.
His dad was on BJ and the Bear. Is that the show?
Something. It was a procedural, I thought, right?
Ah, man. Now I gotta find out. Yeah, that's a bummer. Thanks, Jen. Appreciate that.
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
But I believe, he's a big like comic books and wrestling dude. So like of course,
he wrote for WWE, right? It's pretty crazy. Yeah.
Yep.
I love that. I
was wrong. I knew it was something in the something. It was Chico and the Man. That's what he was.
Chico and the Man. He was Chico, not the man.
Yes, he was.
Yeah. Actually, until I read that, I didn't know that his father had killed him. That's very sad. And I've zipped through these facts, and guys, we're all out of facts. So that's the fact we're ending.
Wait, no, there's got to be another one.
I don't know. Rachael Leigh Cook said the dance scene was awful because she said, and I quote, 2 or 3 left feet. And I went 3 left feet. Rachel, that's fun.
That's fun. That's fun. I like it.
So there we go. Rachael Leigh Cook has 3 left feet. Rachel, if you're listening,
it's a sci-fi movie now.
Call us. Use one of those feet.
We've made this a bunch of different genres. All right, we are going to wrap up here, Chase. Before we go, a couple quick questions for you. Number one, aside from obviously She's All That, which I know is truly your number one pick here. What is your favorite movie of 1999?
Gosh,
you can Google.
it's
You don't
tough.
have to
It is famously one of the best years for film ever in the history of the medium, and I'm so glad that out of all of that, you guys had me watch this one again.
We got more good ones. You can come back for those. You can.
Do you like crime movies?
This is not a groundbreaking or original pick, but I do think that I have a really big affinity for The Matrix because I was on a ski trip with my dad and my brother in Park City, Utah, actually, but it was not during Sundance. Obviously, we were just there skiing, but we had just seen a trailer. We didn't know anything about it, and we just went to a theater and saw it and had our minds blown.
Yeah,
and so that
must have been crazy.
14.
It was really formative and crazy and really stuck with me, obviously, and so that I think is just unquestionably that was one of my favorite movie going experiences of my life, probably.
Yep. I would have loved to have been 14 watching that movie.
It was
because I was 19, and so it was a little I was a little more jaded, I guess. I wasn't super impressed with The Matrix the first time I saw it. I liked it, but I wasn't blown away the same way everybody. I mean, I'm a much bigger fan of it now, right, over time. Yeah. But when I was 14, that's the kind of shit that I would have been lost my goddamn.
It was
yeah,
perfect time, perfect place, and really caught us off guard because I think the first rated R movie that I think me and my brother had been allowed to go see was Johnny Mnemonic, which also had Keanu Reeves and was a sci-fi movie, and so we kind of went into it being so this is just going to be like Johnny Mnemonic again, right? And was not. Yeah.
No.
Right down to Henry Rollins.
It was closer to Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Yeah.
Phone booths abound.
That's a fine answer. Do you and again this answer is the answer that you would give when cornered at a party. Do you have a favorite movie ever?
Oh, that's really easy for me. It's Jurassic Park. It's untouchable. It's at the top top. It's on my letterbox. It's never leaving the top spot. It's also the movie that I've seen the most. I know like Jen, you were saying about the Wayne's World, knowing it by heart. I know Jurassic Park by heart. I can line by line go through the entire thing. I've annoyed a lot of dates by doing that.
Believe it or not, that's not my line by line movie. My line by line movie is Back to the Future. It's pretty another kind of obvious pick, but it's truly. If you could see my home, it's everywhere. It's inside of me. It's everywhere. So I understand it. Do you happen to know? I know that not all LA people know each other, but I know a super fan in LA. Do you know Stephen Ray Morris? He used to do the. He was the engineer on My Favorite Murder. So maybe Karen Kilgariff.
I know Karen a little bit. Yeah.
And he's the biggest Jurassic Park fan ever. In fact, I think he's got a dinosaur podcast. And this is me saying to you, go on that podcast and talk about these dinies.
Yeah. I think I have to.
That's not how you do it. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know why I did that. Where I'm like, do you guys know each other? You both like this movie a lot.
Well, you were close. I mean, I know Karen a little bit.
I mean, he works vaguely in the entertainment industry. I thought, who knows? Maybe you passed each other on the internet or somewhere. Anyway, go ahead.
You know who I bet would find Jurassic Park line readings at dinner endearing is Rachael Leigh Cook. Just saying, if you're out there.
Rachel,
if
you're out there and if you like Jurassic Park, boy, do I have...
there, and if you've got a frying pan in your hand and you're angrily talking about drug use,
I'm gonna loop this all together, right? So, and I actually have a question about your Jurassic Park viewing. So I'm 13 when Jurassic Park comes out. I can also pretty much recite the entire movie, but the movie that I saw when I was 14, and this is what I would want to have seen The Matrix as, that I have often just had entire conversations and just nothing but quotes from, and saw in the movie theater 7 times, is Speed. And again, we're going, it's Keanu Reeves again, right? And that movie, fucking, when I'm 14 years old, I was like, this is the greatest movie ever made.
That's a good movie.
It's a really good movie. Poor
Keanu Reeves had to become like a guru of sorts for people to like him again, or a contract killer, either way. But, God bless him.
He's fantastic in that movie.
Yeah, he really is.
There's a lot of Die Hard imitators, and that is the best one.
For sure.
It gets the closest to that magic, yeah.
I like it better than Die Hard, just saying. You are 8 years old when Jurassic Park comes out, right?
Yeah.
So did you see it in the theater? Like, were you?
I did see it in the theater. I remember actually it pretty vividly because I remember had my eyes completely covered for the when Wayne
when they lower the goat.
Yeah. No, when Wayne Knight dies from the Dilophosaurus. But yeah, and then I think some of the raptor stuff. But I can remember being pretty scared, but also loving it.
Yeah.
And sometimes they would bring it back every couple of years to some theater in Atlanta, and we'd go see it there. And of course, had it on video. And yeah, I've just seen it. I saw it just a month or two ago at New Beverly. They were playing it.
Yeah. That scene, and I guess this is the most appropriate time for me to say that the celebrity that I often get that I most resemble, not to get all Love Is Blind on you guys, is Laura Dern. You're welcome. Chase, you don't have to say you don't see it. Nobody sees it. It's not real. Just a bunch of strangers on the streets have seen it. God bless. But I will say that I do openly weep when they first arrive and when they see the dinosaurs for the first time, and when Samuel is turning Laura Dern's. I mean, that fucking music. Is that John Williams?
Of course it's John Williams. Yeah, he is.
Because that's his buddy. That's his friend. So it's so beautiful. Yeah. And then of course your brain goes into all these directions. Like, what if you got to see the thing that you wanted to see the most in the world ever? Your dreams right there.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I get it. Yeah, I get it. Have you ever gone and seen, and then I guess we have to go. Have you ever gone and seen like an orchestral performance over Jurassic Park?
I know that they've done it.
I've seen it for Back to the Future, and I wept. I'm fine. Everything's fine over here.
I know John Williams has done it, and I think he even did it recently. But I did not go, and he's getting up there, so I might have missed my chance.
He came out of retirement. He was like, "I'm retired," and then 10 minutes later, he was like, "I'm unretired."
91 years old. I saw him conduct the Boston Pops 2 summers ago at Tanglewood. He was 90 or 89. And
he's not retired yet, so you got time.
Yeah, he did a bunch of Indiana Jones and Star Wars, and it's good times. Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Love a J-Dub. All right. So yeah, this was fun, Chase. Thanks so much for joining us.
Chase, you're funny and you're the best. But you knew you were funny, so you're the best.
Thank you guys for having me.
We will invite you back for a more prestigious movie in the future times. No. We're
out of prestigious movies, so I hope
not
you like
out of prestigious movies.
The Ashley Judd crime movie Double Jeopardy.
We have not done Cider House Rules. Anyway, it's fine. We haven't done The Insider. We haven't done October Sky. We haven't done a lot. Like, there's a lot of stuff on the table that we have not gotten to yet. And we'll do The Matrix again at some point. Who the fuck knows? Whatever. Who cares? There's no rules. Chase, if people would like to find you or interact with you or like whatever, check your Letterboxd, whatever you want them to do. Where are you at?
Yeah, I am on Twitter. I refuse to call it X.
That's the rule of our show.
At Chase Mitt, ChaseMIT. Same thing on Instagram. That's less jokes and more pictures of my dog, but you still might get something out of that.
That makes me so happy.
And I'm just Chase Mitchell on Letterboxd. You can find me there. That's honestly. Oh no, I'm Chase Mitt also on Letterboxd. And you can find me there, and that's kind of my favorite social media site at this point. It's really the only one that I enjoy posting on.
Yeah.
Chase, I know you have to go. We all have to go. I'm not on the Letterbox. I am a movie person, I think, but not like in a way that's like, someone once said, Jen, you'd make a terrible reviewer because you like things. You like too many things. You can't find fault in things. I'm like, well, that's not true. But I mean, I do just seem to be relentlessly like finding ways to enjoy a movie. So I could never be a reviewer, but I think that's not what Letterboxd is. Or is it? Can I join Letterboxd?
You should have.
Can I join it? Just have fun.
I would recommend everyone join it. So, I actually, sometimes my friends are like, you like too many things. It's really more about, I don't know. I love movies, and I love even finding stuff to like about ones that I don't necessarily, and I just love talking about them anyway. And sometimes it's just like a one-liner joke about a movie, and sometimes it's, an in-depth, like 4-paragraph review, but it's all fun. And, yeah, and you get to like see what your friends watch, what they like. It's kind of like, it's pretty much like a movie diary. It's, yeah, it's a great spot.
But there's obviously like snobby corners, right? As with all things.
A little bit.
People don't jump in and treat you like shit on your own.
No,
I don't even know what it looks like. Okay. Because I don't want that. I don't want to be shit on for what I enjoy. It's, come on, internet.
Well, we now have a show page on Letterboxd. It's 1999 the podcast at Letterboxd. You can find that. I am in the process of uploading all of our ratings and reviews for the movies that we've covered and that sort of thing. So, Jen, if you want to, help with that at some point, you can. If you want to dip your toes into Letterboxd, you can do that.
It'll just be one where it's like, here's when I cried during this motion picture. Here's where I thought about my childhood during this motion picture. Generational trauma came up again.
Right here, like this factor. You can find us on the social medias at 1999 Podcast. You can email us at 1999@cageclub.me. Tell us what you think, what you're thinking, how you're doing. Say hi, whatever you want to do. And we'll be back soon.
I don't know. What movie is it? What's the next movie?
Do
you know?
We'll return to Hugh Grant as we did in episode 1. With Mickey Blue
tiny
Eyes.
Nipples.
Mickey Blue Eyes.
Very tiny nipples.
And crossed blue eyes. Next time. Until then, look out for frogs. Thanks, Chase.
Thank you, Chase.
Thank you, guys.
So kiss me.